Week 4 in the NFL is upon us. You know what that means we're going to do here on the Splash Play channel. We're going to start to look around the industry to figure out what the must plays are. It means we're going to compare projections from Stochastic in particular, looking at the ownership projections and their weekly projections for NFL Week 4. Going to hop over to the solver, see what ETR thinks on the other side of the street. We'll hop back to Stochastic, run a sim. I'll do a hand build. And by the end of this video, you know all the must plays along with some of my splash plays here. For NFL Week 4. I didn't flash the Chiron. Let's get into it here. Hope you guys had a good Thursday night football slate. I was unfortunately a victim of Jackson Smith and Jigba yesterday. If he had gotten me, I believe, 1.6 more points, including even that field goal at the end, which dropped me down to just like the top 100 in the play action, I would have been in a 10-way chop for first place, which would have been a nice little 3K payout. Instead, I leave with knowing I built a decent lineup, I guess, but it was a weird game yesterday. Still one where I think we got a decent amount of stuff right. So let's hope we can carry some momentum forward here as we talk about this Week 4 slate. And shout out to the chat as well. We got some What's Up Spags, GM. Shout out Kevin being here. Our guy Tyler being here. JSN did not do good things for me or to you. He didn't do either, but that's the way it goes sometimes. And again, sometimes we talk about it on here where a guy is being targeted so much per route, being so involved. At a certain point, you do have to find your depth a little bit. You're not going to usually maintain, a 43% target per out run. I think that's kind of what we saw with JSN yesterday, but he came on strong throughout the fourth quarter. It was a big reason why they were able to get into position to kick the field goal. So contributing to winning football, sure. Contributing to DFS lineups, not so much. And in fact, the winner last night, just to keep the ongoing trends when we talk about looking for unique lineups, winner last night faded Trey McBride and JSN in the lineup. So there you go. That's how that goes. Let's look at the projections here for Week 4. We got Christian McCaffrey at number 1, 24.7 fantasy points for him. McCaffrey, the workload, the expected fantasy points have been among the highest in the league. McCaffrey this week, we are looking at numbers heading into Week 4 of not so impressive, negative 0.1 EPA per rush, but that's fine at his level of volume. Very good 0.4 EPA per target, so he's playing well in terms of efficiency in the pass game. The big thing, as always, with him is the overall workload, 28 intended touches per game, 6.3 of which are inside the red zone, 3 of which are inside the 10-yard line per game. He's also getting targeted 35% of the time he's running a route, so an incredibly high number, even if you're an alpha dog wide receiver, let alone you're a running back. So for McCaffrey, he's deeply involved with Jennings seemingly not rounding into form to play again this week. Brandon Ayuk apparently a long ways away from getting back still. You're going to have the same situation they've had where they're now scheming a lot of work for McCaffrey, certainly trying to keep Pearsall involved. If Jennings were in, they would certainly try to keep him involved as well, you would think, with him having a pretty good target share on the year. But that said, for McCaffrey, the workload is there. The matchup as well versus Jacksonville should be competitive, and the Niners projected for 25 points. So McCaffrey, I would say at 8,500, certainly not unfadable. But with that projection being about a 3x value, he's going to come up in a lot of lineups once again. You expect him to be a top play on the week. So we are once again in McCaffrey hell for the week, which it just never ends. McCaffrey all never ends. At a certain point, it might end because the Niners might not be competitive forever, but they could get Purdy back this week. I would think they will get Purdy back this week. Maybe moving in the right direction for them. Who knows? They feel like a team, though. It all feels not right for them. They're not as good as they were, but still 25 implied points in the week. Josh Allen at number 2, 23.3 fantasy points. This spot really stood out to me a lot when I was going game by game before the show. And of course, we'll be going game by game in the premium video after this one for all the YouTube members. So if you want to see that, make sure to join the channel right now. Get on board. If you do join the channel, you get added automatically to the premium membership here. And you get my video coming up and our Discord as well, which is a nice place to be. You get access to my data sheet too weekly. So Buffalo, New Orleans, both teams playing at an incredibly high pace on the year. 69 plays per game for both teams. Very nice to see on both sides. That'd be amongst the highest in the league in terms of play volume right now. You have Buffalo projected for 31.5 points. Now, the tough part is the total for the Saints is so low. It's 16 implied points for them on their side. Buffalo is a 15.5 point dog, so they're going to be used up quite a bit in the survivor pools out there for anybody who's left at week 4. For Josh Allen, though, he's got to have a massive upside here. James Cook, massive upside here. The receivers, they chop up the shares a little bit too much. Though it does seem like there's been a clear 1-2 of Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir being ahead of Josh Palmer. Palmer slipping down to 39 snaps per game compared to 46 for Shakir, 53 for Keon Coleman. So those guys have the biggest upside. Dalton Kincaid, I won't leave him out either because he's getting targeted 1.7 times a game in the red zone. Point being is, like, there's a pretty decent shot. There's an outlier in this game because Number one, Buffalo has a really high total. Number two, New Orleans is a really low total. Number three, a lot of pace on New Orleans side. And if they have 3 and outs against Buffalo's defense, with that total being so low, the play volume only gets higher from Buffalo then. So playing Josh Allen, I think, very much in play for the week. Playing Josh Allen and James Cook, not sure you want to do that in the same lineup, but I think you can, because I think you can play theoretically Buffalo putting up like 50 points in this game if things go really askew and New Orleans just gets nothing going and Buffalo runs their high play volume on their side over and over and over again. It could also be a thing where the Bills defense just takes control too. So there's definitely some risk for the situation, but Josh Allen and James Cook, I would say 2 really important plays in the slate. Because of the fact they at least have dominant shares in this Buffalo offense that should score a good amount of points this week and might score a lot of points this week. Number 3 is Puka Nacua, the guy in the thumbnail for this week, because I got tired of putting Christian McCaffrey on there. Puka in what should be a competitive, I think, a playoff-style game for the Rams and Indianapolis. Really high total for this one as well. Rams getting 26.5 implied points, Colts getting 23. So both sides of the equation should be in the hunt to play this week. You've had Davante Adams banged up in practice. I don't think he was limited. I think he missed practice yesterday, but somebody can correct me. I want to pay attention today to see what happens because guys have been limited this week, like Jaden Daniels. Apparently, he's not at practice today. That's not good. Davante Adams, we'll see what happens with him. We have a lot of guys that we need to know the Friday status of right now. But for Puka Nacua, whether Adams is in or not, he's getting targeted incredibly well, a 44.9% target per out run rate. Like we talked about, it's really high, kind of like JSN's is, but still Puka Nacua was at 38% last year. So he maintained a really high number, higher than pretty much any regular receiver in football. He maintained that over the course of an entire season last year, obviously with some injury time and all that. I expect him to keep kind of having a really high target share, whether it's 45% target per out run, which is crazy, or it's more like 35 to 40. But he'll still be in the mix meaningfully. If Adams is out, he'll be in the mix even more meaningfully, but obviously have more attention going his way with a Colts team that has defended the pass pretty well in the year with a negative 0.1 EPA per dropback allowed, negative 0.12 EPA per pass allowed. But Puka Nacua, I think, is your best receiver play in the week, and Stochastic would say the same here with that 23 fantasy point projection. Lamar Jackson, 22.1 here in a spot versus KC. Baltimore, it's on the main slate, right? That is, okay. So I also just need to update here because I just pulled in lines and I need to get it's a pick 'em between Chicago and Vegas. Let me just put that in now. So Lamar in the spot facing a KC team that defensively has not been as good as it's been in previous years, where they've kind of been the thing. I would say pushing the team as much as Mahomes has been on offense. You might disagree with that, but I think it's part of why Mahomes has played it so close to the vest in recent years. The defense has been good enough. This year, they have been very good, giving up a high, relatively high EPA per dropback, 0.07, EPA per pass of 0.08. I'm in the red zone. They're not doing that well either. Playing a good amount of man, about 36% of the time. And Baltimore does have some guys that have played particularly well versus man, Zay Flowers and DeAndre Hopkins in particular. But really the main thing for me with KC is I just don't think they're a great defense. This game, obviously, an old school, right, if we called that now, but it's been long enough. A classic AFC rivalry here. I think Lamar is another one here, kind of playoff environment with Baltimore, KC, like the Rams in Indianapolis. Like these two games, I think, stand out as being ones where the upside is probably a little bit higher because of how competitive the game should be. But Baltimore, too, I don't know. Baltimore is maybe not all the way there this year compared to last year. Lamar talked about he's taking a ton of sacks. He's still holding on to a 45% pressure rate. Chiefs do blitz a lot, but Lamar certainly here, game environment, I think looks pretty good. He's your number 4 projected guy overall. Jalen Hurts set number 5, 21.9 fantasy points. Some talk this week about his passing and all of that. He's playing Tampa Bay, who is a team that does suck in the secondary. Gave last week, Tyrod Taylor a pretty good shot. Obviously got Garrett Wilson going as well. This week, though, Tampa Bay only giving up a 23.8 implied point total to Philadelphia. Doesn't seem like a crazy Jalen Hurts spot. But again, Philadelphia Tampa Bay to me feels kind of like another one in this Rams Colts situation. Baltimore KC a little bit less so, but I think in the same spectrum. I think the total here feels a little bit light for two offenses that I think will pick it up against each other. So I don't mind Jalen Hurts. I'm not really a big Jalen Hurts stacker overall because the split between AJ Brown and Devontae Smith's a little bit tough to go to with both guys at 6 targets per game. But I don't think Hurts is like a bad play this week. It's just, how does that Philadelphia stack come together? That's always kind of the tough part. And there is decent ownership expected for Philadelphia this week with about 7% for Hurts, 13% for AJ Brown. So it's not really a sneaky spot this week. Is Bijan Robinson not an option? Haven't heard anyone talk about him this week. I mean, you can see here he's projected for 20.4 fantasy points. I mean, look, the price is a little bit high, 8,200. He's basically, right next to Christian McCaffrey and has about 4 fantasy points less. I mean, more than that in projection difference. I don't think Bijan's a bad play, but the Atlanta offense seems, I was watching the Stochastic Sim show before this one. And Lofty and Greg were talking about, I think Penix was coming up a lot in the Stochastic Sim. I haven't run one for the week yet. We'll see here on stream. But I think it's more the passing stack coming up for Atlanta. I have no issue with Bijan. I just think the total's not super high, and that's probably the big problem. But I don't know. You just haven't heard people talk about him. That happens sometimes. Top value plays in the week. Jackson Dart at 4,500, stepping in to play the Chargers. A little bit tough for me to play Jackson Dart in week 1 of his rollout here. Kind of want to see what we have before I would go to Dart any sort of volume. That said, you have easy stack partners. When you have Neighbors, when you have Wan'Dale Robinson, whose role has been incredibly improved this year. No longer a short ADOT guy. He's getting 12.7 air yards per target. Neighbors is getting a 16.9. And Jackson Dart last year at Ole Miss was a downfield throwing QB, kind of like Russell Wilson was for whatever amount that he did play this year. So for how it is right now with the Giants, the total's not there for me to play Jackson Dart at 18.5. But if you were to play him, I wouldn't be mad at you for it. I just don't think going week 1 to a rookie coming in is necessarily the move. And for what it's worth for Jackson Dart, if you guys followed my rookie previews, liked him a lot. Really thought that he was going to be this year's Bo Nix for me. Then going to the Giants, just didn't think the situation was there for him to start super early. So I'm pleasantly surprised, even though he was not a big best ball exposure guy for me. I still think he'll be good. I think people need to be aware, though, of the fact that, there is some real downside to Jackson Dart. He is a old school gunslinger, which if you're a rookie can be a little bit dangerous. He's also had some catastrophic situations. There's a game, I believe, versus Florida where they were playing from behind and he threw 3 picks in the red zone and had a catastrophic, falling apart kind of situation. He's really good. I think he'll be a good fantasy QB. I think he'll be able to get the ball where it needs to go. Very curious to see how his accuracy and all that stuff shakes out after this week, how much he runs as well. It's going to be a curiosity for me because it seems like the Giants want to use him in kind of RPO situations a little bit more. But that said, for Jackson Dart or, read option stuff, for Jackson Dart, I think that he'll be an interesting play this year. Playing him week 1, I just don't think is the move. And I think to be prepared for it to be a little bit more of a roller coaster. Even than Bo Nix was last week. Bo Nix sucked, but he kept getting there fantasy wise. I think Dart can have some Jameis Winston kind of bad results, but we'll see. Drake May, number 2 value at a 19.5 projection, $5,500 salary. So a much more projectable play. With Drake May, the big issue is that you're not going to really be sneaking up at anybody here with him being number 1, high total game, 24 implied points. Number 2, last week, him with Hunter Henry was a big part of some winning lineups out there. The other tough part is that it is hard to stack him on the Patriots with anybody besides Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry's getting 7.3 targets a game. Your next closest guy is 5 per game for Stephon Diggs, who's only playing 37 snaps per game, which is much less than Kayshon Boutt's 52, then Hunter Henry's 59. Hunter Henry to Drake May, you want to play that stack again, you can. It's just you're playing it the week after. You're now paying an elevated price for it. Matchup's not bad, but Carolina's defense, at the very least because of last week, gained a lot of EPA because of how they shut down Atlanta. I'm not the biggest Drake May guy, so you're not going to hear me caping for him. You can take your shots here. Probably not the spot for me personally. Geno Smith, 18.9 fantasy points. Spot versus Chicago, where it should be an absolute shootout. Chicago's secondary, we know, is pretty dog shit, even though the Dallas side of that equation could not really shoot it out the same way last week. But 24 implied points for both teams here. Vegas's defense, high EPA per drop back allowed, high EPA per pass at 0.25 and 0.29. Chicago's allowing 0.16 EPA per drop back, 0.17. 2 of the worst secondaries in football right now. Game stacking this one again, much like last week with Dallas. Chicago is on the menu. Really, Chicago, until proven otherwise, I think every week you're going to go to Chicago game stacks because the offense runs well. It's a pretty clean target tree as well with Odunze. DJ Moore at number 2. Burden can, I guess, spike now, but I don't expect that to happen too often. Similarly for Vegas, Trey Tucker probably comes down this week. I would think Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers get closer to normalcy, but Trey Tucker's playing 61 snaps per game, just behind Jacoby Myers, 62. Trey Tucker's getting 6.3 targets a game, 1.3 deep targets a game. He's even getting a red zone target a game, which is more than Brock Bowers is getting. Trey Tucker's role is not dog shit, and he might still be in play again this week, even though for me mentally I'm like, all right, he had the big week last week, that's probably it for him. He's still out there a lot, so You can do a lot of stuff with the Raiders stack. I think they're a compelling one this week. And to stack up the entire game as well, I think it's going to be a fun option. Mahomes seems too cheap. He's your number 4 value here at the 20.6 projection. I mean, he's too cheap. His ADP was also too low in best ball. He hasn't paid that off yet at all. The issue with Mahomes is like, who are you stacking him with? Tyquan Thornton, decent game last time out, but now you're getting Worthy back in. Marquise Brown still should be getting targeted decently, even though his target share is coming down pretty meaningfully every week, it seems like. I'm not crazy about going to KC here, but certainly over a 20-point projection for Mahomes, $6,000 salary. He should come up in some lineups, I think. Same situation here at QB that we've had the last few weeks, by the way. There's no real values up top. It's all QB guys, including number 5, Caleb Williams. So I feel like we kind of talked about already through the prism of that Vegas game. But basically all QBs here, no natural like 3K receiver, $4,000 running back. That doesn't exist on the slate. Lions D is basically your top value. That's not a QB. Jacoby Myers, Chris Olave, who has had a ton of expected fantasy points, not a lot of actual ones. But basically, this is not a value slate. This is not a Jordan Mason, Kenneth Walker slate, at least as of right now. There's not that value guy to cram in. I would watch out, though, for Mariota, 5K. He probably won't project well enough. But Jaden not at practice, I presume. I thought he was going to play this week, but I think they might be erring on the side of caution for him, which means Mariota potentially going again here. He'll be close to one of these top values, I would think, with like a 18, 19 projection. So that would put him, I think, in this range of being a top value. He might be around Caleb. But Mariota, assuming Jay Daniels gets ruled out, that's one to watch for a move right now in stochastic data. Let's go to the ownership next, guys. And if you got any value in this video, or if you get any value in this video, or even if it's just you're fading things I'm saying, which would make me sad, but you can do whatever you want, please do subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. I appreciate you guys showing up for the like button game lately here. We're getting over 100 likes in every video. Please help me out with keep doing that. I feel like at some point YouTube's going to go, hey, let's reward this video with more views, more suggestions, and all that. For right now, though, your guys' support does go a long way here, so please do subscribe down below, hit the like button. If you're watching on Twitter, hit the follow button, hit the like button, just any engagements so to make worth the effort here, doing all this stuff. And do make sure to use that promo code SPLASH at Stochastic, 15% off all the data I'm showing you here on screen, all the Sims tools as well, the cheap stuff, the expensive stuff, it's all 15% off, and it does support the show here. Half the money you pay to Stochastic comes back to me, so big way I'm able to afford to do this. So please click that link down below. Please use the promo code SPLASH over at Stochastic. I'll pull that down here. Daniel shouldn't play yet. He needs more time to heal up fully. Shut the fuck up. That's a man who doesn't want Jaden to make me money. So I feel about that. I'm glad we'll be getting Justin Fields back, but like I'm still advancing really well. Shout out to you guys that have me on your fantasy best ball teams. Advancing really well in best ball still. But like I have teams where I have Jaden and Justin Fields, and I need them to get back out there. Would really prefer Jaden to get back out there. I don't think his knee's that bad if you go through 3 limited practices. It sounds like he wants to play, but the team, like, part of the issue of the Commanders, and when it come back to me in a couple of years, if they miss their championship window, it's because they're so fucking conservative with everything they do, and they're so afraid of taking risks, and the offense is not as good as it could be because of it. The talent around Jay Daniels is not as good as it could be because of it. It's driving me nuts already in my 1 year and 4 weeks as a Commanders fan. But Jaden should fucking play. Like, he's not, it's a sprained knee. If he feels good enough to go, it's fine. He'll be in a brace. Anyway, whatever. Top owned players right now. Pissing me off here. Telling me Jaden should rest. Fucking, that's a man who you can tell does not own Jaden Daniels. Christian McCaffrey here. Yeah, that's not what happened with another player has nothing to do with a new regime with a new coaching staff. It's even a new fucking team name. No, that's not nothing to do with anything. Oh, Christian McCaffrey, 38% expected ownership. We talked enough about him. Crazy workload, competitive game script, good total for the Niners. Christian McCaffrey, your top expected owned guy, 38%. We've said enough there. I'll make up some time on it. Puka Nacua, 37% here. That's basically if you fucking, I'll give you a fucking arrow to the face. Fuck off with that. You guys are pussies. Like, you're worried about fucking something that happened 15 years ago. It doesn't relate to 2025. I don't mean to start yelling here, but like, this is insane. You're listening to this channel, which is all about data and understanding context for things. Just because you're fucking crippled as a franchise doesn't mean you have to go, oh, we can't play our QB in 2 weeks when any other QB be playing right now. It's not the way to view it. Thank you. Okay, should still play. I agree. Should still play. He's not going to, though, it looks like. Puka Nacua, 37% ownership. I hate to get worked up about this, guys, but shit that happened 15 years ago when fucking gambling companies or people that are providing that content tell you, whoa, they're 15-5 in their last matchups against the spread. It doesn't fucking matter. It's a different team entirely, and spreads are an imaginary construct anyway. But anything that happened in the it just doesn't fucking matter. If it's Jaden himself, if he rushed back last year and he hurt his knee and then you're doing the same thing again this year, yes, that matters. What another human being did in another world here when fucking Obama was president. Was that even before when George W. Bush was president? Shit doesn't matter. Anyway, Puka Nacua, Christian McCaffrey, Chalk. We've talked enough about them. They're great plays. Jacoby Myers, definitely due for some positive regression here. He's playing just as much as Trey Tucker is, just not getting the results. For Trey Tucker, though, as it is right now, I really don't feel like I want to go nuts on Jacoby Myers like this ownership is suggesting. 25% here. He's just too cheap at 5,400. To me, he kind of feels like a Keenan Allen did last week, where ETR was giving us a ton of him. Keenan Allen didn't look great for the first, 3 quarters of that game. Then he catches a touchdown, adds some PPR on top. He looks pretty decent by the end and can be a part of a functional lineup. But Myers, to me, never the most exciting play at 5,400 just because the ceiling is not that high. James Cook, $7,100 salary for him. We talked about the massive total for Buffalo. James Cook also averaging 4.5. Let me make sure that number is right. 4.7 red zone opportunities a game, 1.7 of which are inside the 10-yard line. Cook's got a good role. He's been very good on the year with the new money that's came to his way. I guess barely new money, but he's playing for his next version. He got enough new money in, but he's still trying to set himself up, I think, to get more down the line, maybe even told out for more money next year. For James Cook, though, the workload's been there for him. He's getting 20.7 to touches a game, so that's up. Ray Davis also got iced to RB3, which I think bodes well for James Cook, keeping that red zone role, whereas last year he gave a little bit away more than I would have thought to Ray Davis, who was averaging like 2 red zone opportunities a game. I think Cook's a really strong play this week, mostly because you expect Buffalo to kick New Orleans' ass. That said, that certainly can go some different ways. The pass game can score the touchdowns. The defense can score the touchdowns. Return game against the Saints is also a big thing lately. That can score touchdowns. There are ways James Cook fails, but he's a great play. And fifth highest owned guy, I'll get to the chat. You guys are very amusing in chat. Chris Olave, 5,100 here, 20% expected ownership. He'll be the bring back for Buffalo stuff. He is definitely due for a better day with him getting a 12.3 targets a game. One of those is a deep target, 1.3 of which are inside the red zone. Overall, 31.4% target per route run while playing 66 snaps a game and running 40 routes. Olave's out there for a ton of plays. He should be good at some point here at 5,100. But it really feels like too cheap of a price tag for Myers and Olave. Hard to say to fade those guys, but there definitely is, a little more median projection of these guys in terms of how they played this year than there is ceiling. So something to keep in mind. I know this is primarily a DK show, but any chance to look at FanDuel cash options? No. Actually, you know what here? Yes, because you asked nicely, your cash options just be the highest owned guys. So McCaffrey, Puka, James Cook, Scattaboo, Jacoby Myers. This is literally your cash game roster. McCaffrey, Puka, James Cook. Maybe you can't afford all the stuff, but Scattaboo, Myers, yes. Tet McMillan, probably. Chris Olave, probably. There you go. FanDuel Cash, we did it, guys. But yes, Nolan, I have a question about my free sleeper dynasty league. Is now a good time? It's apparently always a good time here. But to be clear, I don't care about FanDuel, and that's why I don't cover it, because it's just not worth it. All right. ETR next. Let's get going on this part. What I have the weird clicky arrow. All right. 25 lineups here. A Python Monte Carlo simulation. I have built Monte Carlo sims in Excel before. But Python would be too hard for me, unfortunately. That's the fucked up part too is I had a startup and I could have learned Python and forced myself to do it and had a real reason to. And I'll tell you what, I did not learn Python. Did not do anything. Too busy worrying about keeping the company afloat every day. I actually learned no useful skills besides app store optimization and how to fucking tap dance for idiots who won't give you money. I have to change a projection, right? Because it's not going to let me make lineups. Okay, so let's alter Christian McCaffrey's projection slightly here. The new rules in the solver here to run a cash game lineup. Christian McCaffrey, you're going to instead have there we go, a 24.829 projection. I got to change one more. Okay, sure. You, Bijan Robinson, have a 20.319 projection. Boom. We did it. We've agreed to the rules of DraftKings where you have to change at least 2 things for an optimizable run. Just so silly. He said did this bit yesterday on stream, but it's so fucking silly that that's the case. Anyway, Solver here, your cash game optimal line. If you were to play a cash game at 12:26 p.m. on the East Coast on a Friday, this should be it. Drake May, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Chris Olave, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, David Njoku, Brenton Strange, Titans D. So double tight end. Devontae Adams, a double stack for the Rams without the QB. Seeing a natural Ram stack, though, means that those Ram stacks might end up a little bit overowned. Overall here, Chris Olave is at 100% of the top 25. Puka Nacua is at 100% of the top 25 lineups according to ETR data with no variance on top. Basically, again, when a cash game lineup should just be what's your top projected line for the week. So that's why we do this process here. But also when you look at the projections through this prism, you're able to kind of see what players end up in lineups more often than people realize just because the projections work out a lot. You also can see who the most important players are on a slate. So according to ETR, Olave, Puka Nacua, Christian McCaffrey, your 3 most important players on the slate. And also, if you don't play Olave, don't play Puka, you'll certainly be away from a large portion of the field, at the very least, of ETR users. 80% of these lineups, so 20 out of 25, have Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. So Adams' status, assuming he'll be able to go in this data right now, I'm not so sure based on the practice reports. But if he does go here, it seems like he'll be well projected. And if he didn't go, certainly Puka Nacua is going to be incredibly well projected and borderline unfadeable relative to those projections. Half these lineups have Christian McCaffrey and Brenton Strange for reasons unclear. 25% have Jonathan Taylor with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Actually, that's a good point to note too. So at least naturally with ETR data, you're going to get some game stacking of Colts and Rams. So really adding on Matthew Stafford would just be a logical thing here instead of Drake May, and then finding somewhere else to spend slightly more money. I think at tight end in particular would be a move. Also adding on Daniel Jones here and then playing Daniel Jones with Taylor, with a Pittman or a Tyler Warren on top. But you're getting like naturally projected Colts Rams stuff. So I do think people will kind of get there on their own. But just be mindful of the fact that I don't want to play 2 Rams without like real correlation. If people are going to do that naturally. Overall, there's 84% of the lineups have at least 2 Rams, or 80% of the lineups have at least 2 Rams. Another 4% have 3 Rams. So just a lot of the Rams receivers coming up here in this first run. Are they have Sims ready? Do you have Sims ready? So let's build a full set of lineups here. I'm going to try to emphasize game stacks with how I set this up. Give my main slate boosts. I'm actually increase them a little bit here. We don't force it, but we want to give a boost that basically makes it so we're going to naturally get game stacks. Let's boost the RB. Let's go 17.5 here. Let's boost opponents. Let's boost opponents by also 17.5. All right. Let's see what we get in 150 with ETR variance on. All right. Any hope for Travis Hunter if BTJ is hurting and Diami's out? I mean, Diami's limited, so we'll see about that. Hunter's usage is not the most inspiring so far. Getting targeted 21% of the time he's running a route. It's okay. It's not great. Not very efficient. Negative 0.3 EPA per target. Really low ADOT's the tough part as well. 6.3 air yards per target. He's playing 40 snaps, so playing less than Diami Brown right now. He's running slightly more routes, though, 25 compared to 22.7. Look, he's cheap. I just don't think the usage pattern is there for him personally, but you take a shot. He's really not getting deep targets either. He's getting 0.7 red zone targets a game, which is less than Diami. He's getting 1 a game. Brian Thomas is getting 1.3 a game. He's got basically he's got the third best role out of the receivers. So I wouldn't go Hunter's way, but I don't think it's a bad thought. He's cheap and the ADP was high. I just think the ADP was never, at least what the Jaguars offense is right now was never really tied into what it is currently. This passing game is not good, unfortunately. Liam Cohen is not fixed Trevor Lawrence in the way he fixed Baker Mayfield, or enhanced Baker Mayfield, we could say. We wait for these last 50 minutes lineups to build, guys. Please do show some love. Subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Again, make sure to check out our sponsors here. We got the Solver, 50. Actually, no discount on the Solver. Sorry, no discount. But link down below. Use promo code Splash on there. Just an attribution thing. Solver does not give out any free meals to anybody. Stochastic, 15% off. You guys know the deal there. And of course, join the channel here if you want to see my premium video, which you get automatically redirected to when this one ends. I go game by game, looking at all the advanced analytics from Sports Info Solutions in particular. It's a really important deep dive for me in my process and for some of you guys out there as well. Of course, you get access to the same data sheet I show you on that stream as well. But join the channel, do that stuff. And it's only $5 to join here and does support the show. All right, let's sim out. Let's sim in the mini max. I feel like that way it's still getting 150 maxers and a good amount of decent lineups. I'll once again highlight the portfolio tool as well. Use this if you're building a portfolio of any amount of lineups. Build 15 different sets of 150. Look at the exposures. The lineup that I had that was almost first place in the play action yesterday was a solver built lineup in the portfolio tool. I just selected my portfolio, tried to get myself a little bit more Kenneth Walker, a little bit more some other players on that slate. AJ Barner is what I got myself a little bit more of. So that's what you can do with the portfolio tool. I really like it a lot. I think it shortens the prep process of just getting good lineups done, especially if you're doing like take a player out, run that sim kind of stuff. It's a nice tool. So just my recommendation here. Run the Sims also does a portfolio tool as well, but portfolio tools are pretty cool. Should I cancel and resubscribe for the Solver? Do you get kickback? I don't know how that works, honestly. If you use a different email, yes, but you don't have to. I appreciate the support, Nolan, but Solver, honestly, like the bigger one is always Stochastic. Stochastic is what like a lot of my revenue comes from, which is why I'm like freaking out. I think because I lost some SEO on my promo code. Just to be real with you guys, like, so I'm not converting as many as I have before. But Solver, if you already got a membership, no big deal. But I appreciate you thinking of me, Nolan. Thank you for the thought. Let's look at some top lineups here. Nolan always too kind. The best DFS player in our community, and also one of the kindest guys, and I appreciate that. Your top ROI lineup according to ETR data: Brock Purdy at QB, James Cook at RB, Christian McCaffrey also at RB, Chris Olave, Puka Nacua, Juwan Jennings, David Njoku, Trey Tucker, Titans D. So you're getting David Njoku in again, who is in some of those top optimal lineups here. ETR seemingly liking his projection in the spot versus Detroit, where they seemingly going to have to drop back and throw a lot. Juwan Jennings makes it in. I really don't think he's going to play, but maybe you'd get Pearsall instead here. But a lineup here, and important to note, I guess, chasing Trey Tucker after the monster game last week. The underlying usage does support, I guess, trusting that. Okay. Just ruled out Daniels. Yeah, if he's not at practice on a Friday, that's how it goes. Unfortunately, it sucks. I'm able to select a single entry to sim. Yes, you can. You can. I don't do it here, but you can select basically the only ones they don't have for the main slate are like the Millie Maker. And they don't have a real field for the play action. But for showdowns, they have like a lot of them. So yeah, they create like basically, I want to say 20 different tournament fields for some of the largest tournaments. So you should be able to do that. Yeah. Matthew Stafford, Christian McCaffrey, your number 2 ROI lineup in this one. Jonathan Taylor, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Brenton Strange, Jake Tongas, another 2 tight end lineup, and Titans D again. Surprised to see the ETR data pushing Titans D as much as it has. Number 3, Titans D again. Another Niner stack. Brock Purdy, McCaffrey, Ashton Genty, part of the rising tide of that Chicago game. Chris Olave, Puka Nacua, Ricky Pearsall makes this one along with Juwan Jennings. Brenton Strange yet again, Titans D. So we don't get the tight end in the flex this time. We do get Brenton Strange again, do get a Niner stack again. Number 4, more Rams with Matthew Stafford. Stafford, McCaffrey, Taylor, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. It's all is real samey. Trey Tucker, Dalton Schultz, Brenton Strange, Chargers D. Another 2 tight end build. Another one with Trey Tucker. Another one with McCaffrey and Taylor. Just playing the hits of every player that's been successful so far to start the year. At number 5, Matthew Stafford, Omarion Hampton, Jonathan Taylor, Chris Olave, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Tyler Higbee, and Ashton Genty, along with Titans D yet again. So you get the Rams triple here. I mean, that'll make you more unique to put Higbee on top. You're still getting Olave, who they like, Genty, who they seem to like, Taylor, they definitely like. Fading the Niners on this one, but getting Hampton, both rookies. Okay. Need some Tylenol. You know, we could all use a little extra autism boost right now. Tough seat in Washington for sure. I mean, it is what it is. It's just, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot with how they've run the team. And I kind of said it in the offseason too. Like, I like the addition of Debo, but I mean, like, why take Debo when you could find a way to get Luther Burden in that draft? Like, you should be building young. You should be a little more aggressive there, whatever. It's just never as a team. I get now what people who've been Washington fans for a while feel, because it's like they really stripped me of my joy within a year and change of rooting for him. But we'll survive in best ball with one more week of fucking 0 points at QB. Just would like to see him get out there and show that he's not as bad as he's looked so far. The Packers game was just like a bummer. And I don't think it's him. I think it's the team. But I'll defend my boy, obviously. Theo Johnson, your top ROI guy in these top 150 lineups here that the solver's given us overall. Jake Tongas, number 2. Jaguars D at number 3. These guys are not owned very much. Brock Purdy, your number 4 highest ROI here. He was coming up a good amount in some of those top lineups. And number 5, Trey Tucker, 79% ROI, a 16% exposure for that. So Purdy and Trey Tucker getting into a lot of lineups, keeping a high ROI. Despite that, that is something important to note here with the ETR data. And Jordan Whittington coming in here too with a very high ROI, not in a lot of lineups, but really solver ETR data. Loving Rams, loving Niners, like meaningfully. Let's go to Stochastic next. See what we got here. Oh, puppy woofing in her sleep. That's cute. That's cute and well-behaved, which is what I'm hoping for out of the dog. Let's build some Stochastic lineups next, though, guys. Build a 10,000 lineup pool here. Let's see what we got. Projections updated about 11 a.m. So probably we'll still have Jaden in there, unfortunately. We won't get a read on Mariota. I wonder if they wish they had B-Rob back. Maybe. I mean, honestly, Chris Rodriguez might give them what they thought they were going to get from Krosky Merritt. But we'll see. Krosky Merritt's also been banged up this week. Do I like any of the value wide receivers showing up, like Mitchell or Washington? I don't particularly. No. I mean, it's Trey Tucker is who the Sims were really pushing. A.D. Mitchell is like, I mean, assume that's who you're talking about when you say Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell is like you hope he could be Alec Pierce, but Alec Pierce is also really hard to pin down. Like you're just listing guys that seem like a trap. If McLaurin's out, maybe Jalen Lane, because he might just get a lot more routes. But even that, again, like there's nobody popping up as a value in when we sort by value in Stochastic for a reason. I really do believe strongly that one of the biggest flaws of people forcing things in tournaments is like trying to find value when there isn't. I don't think there's a lot of value that's super projectable right now, at the very least. But we'll see when data updates. Terry got ruled out. Not a surprise. I mean, given the fact they were talking about surgery for his quad or whatever, I don't think that's a shocker. Yeah, I would think Jalen Lane takes the snaps because he's the one who plays out wide. He's mostly getting his targets out wide. He's gotten 3 out of the slot compared to 5 out wide. Luke McCaffrey, 1 out wide compared to 2 in the slot. Debo should be the one who really gets the most targets here, but he was not a popular look last week for Mariota, so that's kind of tough. But I figured with the team total that Jaden wasn't playing. I just got my hopes up, though, with all the limited practices. But I think it's Mariota, Debo, Ertz are really the ones you'd want to stack up. Everybody else is just going to be getting swapped out for their routes. We'll see what Stochastic has for us here. Here's if they like Trey Tucker as much as ETR did. Probably not, if I had to guess. Stochastic's top ROI lineup right now, a Michael Penix one. So we did not see Penix up top on ETR data. We are getting him here. Penix, McCaffrey, James Cook, Tet McMillan, Drake London, Chris Olave, Kyle Pitts, Jacoby Myers, Lions. That's the other part too. Like, you know, if you're trying to squeeze your eyes or just squint your eyes for like these guys, you have Olave really cheap. You have Myers really cheap. They're really projectable. Tet McMillan's frankly too cheap as well for the role that he has, even though you know, he hasn't shown the massive you must have it upside yet. You are losing Sanders this week. You know, you might not have Leggett as well, it seems like. I don't know. Like, I think there's enough cheap-ish guys. You don't have to go to like 3K cheap guys necessarily. I think that team does spell it out a little. Number 2 is a Vegas double. We got Geno Smith, Christian McCaffrey, Cam Scattaboo, Devontae Adams, Tet McMillan, Chris Olave, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, Brown. So you're getting the double stack here, the premium double with the Raiders. So fading Trey Tucker, trying to say the offense flows back to Bowers and Myers. Yeah, that's that. Thornton doesn't look bad. I don't think I would go to Thornton way. Like Tucker is playing substantially more snaps. I would think you want to play Myers and Bowers instead, but certainly, people will think that. So if you want to get cute, I guess you could. I just don't think Thornton's playing enough. Matthew Stafford at number 3. So here we're getting some Rams stuff. So both sides agreed on Rams. Stafford, Kyron is in this one. Cam Scattaboo, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Jacoby Myers, Lions D. So we get the Rams triple here with Kyron, Puka, and Adams, and no bringbacks on it. And then Niners at number 4, Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Cam Scattaboo, Puka Nacua, Ricky Pearsall, Chris Olave, Hunter Henry, Juwan Jennings, Browns. That lineup looks kind of similar to what we're getting from ETR. It was giving us Jonathan Taylor over Scattaboo, so a little bit of an exchange there. Stochastic favoring the better value at RB. But these two teams, Rams and Niners up top, both sides supporting Rams and Niners. And then Vegas at number 5, a double stack with a bring back. Geno Smith with Kyron Williams, DeAndre Swift, Puka Nacua, Tet McMillan, Drake London, Brock Bowers, and Myers again, and Browns D. Overall high Senate season, and I don't think it's ever Senate season, unfortunately. I also don't think he's a winner. He needs Zach Ertz to get hurt, and he would need John Bates to also get hurt at this point, possibly. Poor Ben Sinnott. But thank God he got that second round draft money. That's the one thing I'm happy for him. Your top ROI players right now, Lions D at 10% ROI for them at 3,500. Cleveland, very bad total in this game for them. They only have 17.3 implied points. Not as bad as New Orleans at 16, but still pretty bad. Detroit blitzes about a third of the time, 33% blitz rate. Hurries the QB 5% of the time. Flacco's been really bad under pressure with a negative 0.9 EPA on those plays. Flacco also really struggling with accuracy. Flacco is just a disaster. Oh, is Bates hurt? I didn't know that. All right, well, maybe. Browns D at number 2. So Browns D at 2,200. So both defenses in this game. Seems certainly more fragile for Browns D, but they're 2,200. It is theoretically a defense that should be pretty good. And they have been good to start the year, in particular defending the run really well. Negative 0.26 EPA per run given up by Cleveland's defense so far. They're good in the secondary as well, with a negative 0.05 EPA per dropback and a negative 0.06 EPA per pass. The total is so high for Detroit, it's sort of hard to really love the Browns D here, but they're bottom tier cheap, and Jared Goff drops back a lot, maybe gets a little too cocky with how much he'll be dropping back and try to throw for touchdowns. I guess that would be your hope here if you play the Browns D. Tet McMillan, an 8% ROI. He's at number 3. Kyle Pitts at number 4, the 7% ROI. A little bit surprised to see that. But Kyle Pitts is averaging, 6 targets a game? 6.3 targets a game, 19% target per out run. No red zone targets for him yet. I don't think Kyle Pitts should be that high of an ROI, but sure. He probably works with the price point relative to some lineup Stochastic likes. Cam Scattaboo, positive ROI at 6.6. Parker Washington at 4.2. So there you go. There's one cheap guy coming up a little. Hunter Henry at 3.9. Olave 2.1. Myers at 0.6. Dalton Schultz at 0.2. Those are all your positive ROI guys, according to Stochastic. In terms of stacks, the only QB with a single stack that has a positive ROI is Drake May. QB +2, you get Penix with a positive ROI, Trevor Lawrence with a positive ROI, Bryce Young and Geno Smith. It's weird that Drake May, that never works out that way, but it's probably because the stack partners for New England kind of suck. But you never really see the QB +2 have a lower ROI than the QB +1. For Drake May, that is the case. QB +3 stacks or triples. Michael Penix is the top one, a 19% ROI. Matthew Stafford, number 2, 12. Bryce Young, 8%. Geno Smith, a rounded up 8%. CJ Stroud, 6%. Trevor Lawrence, 5%. And Spencer Rattler, 1% ROI in a triple stack. Overall, the highest exposed guys in Stochastic's top 150, Puka Nacua in 48% of lineups. That's about 10% more than the field. Christian McCaffrey in 47% of lineups, also about 10% more than the field. Lions D in 43% of lineups, which makes sense. You have low total, QB drops back a lot, decent defense on the other side. I get it. It's a lot of exposure though. Stochastic usually doesn't love paying up for defense that much. The Browns offense has been pretty bad. Chris Olave in 43% of lineups, more than 2x. The field's expected 20% ownership. And Cam Scattaboo in 39% of lineups, field's at 13. I did say earlier in the offseason that if anybody was going to be a Buck Irving this year, everybody thought it was going to be Bashal Tutin. Maybe it still can be him. I thought it was going to be Scattaboo. Scattaboo is looking real juicy so far. 30% avoided tackle rate overall, 30% in the pass game, getting a target 30% of the time he's running a route, 3 red zone opportunities a game, 1.3 of which are inside the 10-yard line. If they had a better team total, and if it wasn't a rookie starting, I'd feel a little, honestly, Dart should at least be a lateral move for us, I would hope. But if he's not, that's sort of the risk for Scadaboo. But we didn't talk about Scadaboo because ETR wasn't really pushing him. Stochastic seemingly loving Scadaboo here. Overall, your highest, there you go. You got your Parker Washington confirmation. Look, Stochastic saying he's definitely not coming up a lot, though. So keep that in mind. But if you play him in frequently and you get the rest of the lineup right, clearly he can win you money. Lions D is your highest positive leverage play on the slate, according to Stochastic, 31% leverage for them. That's crazy. Ted McMillan, 27% leverage. He'll be played 38% of Stochastic's top 150. Fields at 12. Cam Scadaboo, 26% positive leverage on him. Again, he's in 39% of lineups. Fields 13, so a 3x stand on Scadaboo. Chris Olave, 23% leverage on him. He'll be in 43% of Stochastic's top 150 lineups. The Fields at 20. And Kyron Williams in 34% of lineups. It gives you 19.5% leverage on him. Same thing for Hunter Henry. Got to say, Stochastic sim here. Really pushing some guys. I feel like usually there's a lot of holding hands with the field. That is not the case here. Most negative leverage guys, the biggest fades for Stochastic. So this is one where they disagree on ETR with this week. There's been a lot of disagreement between ETR data and Stochastic data. Jonathan Taylor, negative 12% leverage for him. He'll only be played in 7% of Stochastic's top 150. The Fields at 19. Saquon Barkley at only 11% of Stochastic's top 150. Fields at 1%. Feels real low for Saquon. So New England's defensive pass funnel, Bryson Tet stacks. I've said it a bunch on stream. New England, and this has been a Mike Vrabel thing for years, that the secondary usually sucks. The run defense stiffens up. That's been the case so far this year. 0.2 EPA per dropback, one of the worst marks in the league. 0.23 EPA per pass for comparison. They're playing really well against the run with a negative 0.1 EPA per rush. And they're stuffing the run 39% of the time, which is incredibly high. So yeah, like Bryce should be forced to pass. Pats aren't deflecting a lot of passes, so your hope would be that they're not around the ball enough where that could become an issue for Bryce. And, because he is a little bit turnover prone sometimes. But I don't hate that. The Sims do love Kyron. That is true. AJ Brown, negative 7% leverage for him. He'll only be played in 3% of Stochastic lineups. Fields at 9. Nico, negative 7% leverage. Not chasing him this week. He's barely in any lineups, only 0.7%. And Alvin Kamara, also in only about 0.7% of lineups. His role has not been a beneficial PPR scam like it has been his entire career. That's a tough part for Kamara. He's also not getting in the red zone enough. So really for Kamara, he's basically a completely different player than he has been in previous years, besides the fact, he's still missing a good amount of tackles. 22% for an old guy, is pretty good for him. But only, 20 intended touches. It's not bad. Yeah, I don't know. Kamara at 6,100, that is like really cheap for Kamara. It's just definitely not the same role it's been for him. So it's a little bit tough to parse out. Henderson starting for New England. He was ahead of Ramondre in some practice stuff that they had, some drills, but I don't think it's a guarantee. Like Ramondre, the quote from Vrabel about Ramondre fumbling is like, we got to clean that up. And it's like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to knock, this guy's not going to fucking play. It was like, we have to clean that up, which I don't think screams they want to go to Henderson. I will say what stands out for me with Henderson, and I'm going to hand build the lineup next, guys. He's not missing tackles, which he also didn't do a lot of in college at Ohio State either. And really, Quinshon Judkins, I'm not like the highest on in the world. He has looked like a new man relative to how he played at Ohio State. Henderson, 5% avoided tackle rate is like one of the worst marks in football. The efficiency is also not great per run. He's not getting enough volume, but negative 0.2 EPA per rush. He's okay in the pass game, missing more tackles there at 27%. He's got a plus EPA there at 0.44, but like he's not really playing well enough to take super advantage necessarily, even if he does start. So I don't know. I wouldn't play Henderson this week personally because I think Ramondre still will factor in, but certainly, people are going to assume Ramondre doesn't factor in too, which I think is a tough part. But let's build this team out. Look, I'm going to go Scadaboo. I think you want to run a little bit to take pressure off your rookie QB if you can. Jackson Dart's more mobile than Russ is at this stage of his career, so checkdowns maybe not as plentiful. But I do know the sim is going to want to see Scadaboo, and part of this exercise is giving the sim what it wants. I like Scadaboo enough. I'm going to go with him as one of my picks here. I'll go McCaffrey as well. The workload's too high. Seems like it's another week where you can make a winning lineup fairly easily. Definitely a lot of ways to get contrarian this week, playing your Bijans, playing your Gibbs in particular in a tough matchup. Saquon as well feels just a little bit underowned, knowing that we can eventually have him return to days like he had last year. Derrick Henry, resurgent. But I'm going to go with McCaffrey because I think he is the play that feels most projectable and most sim friendly. I'm going to try to add James Cook on in the flex as well. I think Buffalo's total is a little bit too high. And I think James Cook is really one of the beneficiaries of Buffalo being a team that's putting up a lot of points, obviously, so far to start the year. Receivers. I don't think this is going to sim well, but I'm going to go Olave. I mean, they should be throwing literally the entire game, and Olave is getting 12 targets a game as it is right now. Granted, they've also been trailing a lot in the games they're in. And I think we could do Juwan Johnson too. I think we're doing another Rattler stack. I just don't think Rattler is as bad as the underlying stat. Like, he doesn't look bad underlying stats. The efficiency is not there. He's a negative 0.08 EPA per pass guy, a negative 0.05 EPA per drop back. It's not like awful. And his catchable ball rate's at 86%. He gets to take 4 deep shots a game. Doesn't run enough. A lot of motion on their plays, which unfortunately Buffalo handles motion pretty well compared to league average. They're actually very good at handling motion. Well, fuck it, whatever. Building the team. We're going to go Olave, Juwan Johnson. We're going to go Rattler at QB. Do we add more from Buffalo on this to complete a game stack? They put a Keon on. Kincaid in the flex, maybe. Kincaid's target share is pretty good. 25% target per out run compared to 21% for Keon Coleman, 18% for Shakir. That'll level out. Well, let's go over here. Let's go to Jacoby Myers. We know the sim's gonna like him, and he is cheap and allows us to get some savings in. Let's choose a defense. We'll give the sim a defense it likes with the Lions D, and I also like conceptually too. Get a low team total for Cleveland, a lot of dropbacks for Flacco. Excuse me. And then we got 6K left. Oh, Debo in a competitive spot here. Could be nice. What's Odunze's price? Odunze's 6,300. I'm going to go to Odunze and come down off Lions D. Though, you know what? First, let me do this way. Let me go Debo. Yeah, not Tet yet. I'm going to go Debo and Lions D first. Let's see how this sims out. So the lineup right now, Spencer Rattler at QB, Scattaboo, McCaffrey, Chris Olave, Jacoby Myers, Debo Samuel, Juwan Johnson, James Cook, Lions D. All right, 53% ROI, 0.2% win rate. What if I go to Odunze? So we got a little intercorrelation here with Vegas, Chicago, and we downgrade the defense to 3,200. Patriots D. We'll say they get to Lil Bryce. It's a 1v1 swap, or a 2v2 swap, rather. Odunze and Patriots in for the guys we just had for Debo and Lions. 33% ROI here. Okay. That's a good one. Just for the sake of our guy, Justin, we'll put in a Tet lineup as well. We put in Tet. So going at 5,900. We can still afford the Lions D with that one. I imagine this is going to sim similarly to the Debo one. Does it hate Flacco stacks? Flacco has not played at all on Stochastic's top 150, so probably. I'm sure there's still a few positive ones, but not in the top 150. 84% ROI for that one. So that's the highest. So here we go. So this base basically with Rattler, a Rattler double, Rattler, Scattaboo, McCaffrey, Olave, Jacoby Myers. This build is set McMillan, but you could swap the McMillan spot to whatever. Juwan Johnson, James Cook, Lions D. So this skeleton works pretty well for whatever build you want. So that's that. All right, that's enough sims. So let's go over to the premium video now, guys. I'll start a little bit early, I guess. But before we do that, let's run through things. And I'm going to give you guys my splash players for the week. I'll give you the guys that I think stand out the most from all this stuff after I do some plugs. So first, Please do hit the like button, subscribe. Again, I'm just one guy here showing up Mondays and Thursdays for those island games, the showdown slates. Fridays, Sundays at 9 a.m. For the main slate as well. Of course, Sunday is my final takes video. I do a lot of work to be good at understanding football, around things of Football Outsiders. I've picked up a lot of information. I do the best I can to give you as much as I can of that information for myself. But of course, mostly just showing you my gambling here on DraftKings each week, of course, in best ball the rest of the year. Check out Stochastic, 15% off promo code SPLASH. Link down below for that. A solver as well, link down below with promo code SPLASH there too. Join the channel. You get access to the Discord for $5. You also get my data sheet and the premium video we're about to redirect to on this here channel. And that's all the plugs, but please do support the channel if you can, because I think I'm doing good work. But, you giving me money is also a good way for you to feel like I'm doing good work. Splash plays for the week. I think it's hard to ignore how cheap Olave and Jacoby Myers are. Like, I do question the ceiling for both guys. And again, this is like a thing too, where we talk about anything that you think on a given slate, 99% of people playing that same slate are also going to think. But for Olave and Myers, like, I think Olave in particular has a lot more upside. Like, he's been a leader in expected fantasy points for wide receivers. I don't think Rattler's been so bad underlying numbers either that he'll never get there. So for Olave, I really feel strongly about like him being a guy I want to get to. Debo, I think, will also look a little bit better this week, even though I didn't talk a lot about him. That was part of why he's one of the first guys I put into my sim lineup. The McCaffrey chalk, find hard to fade. James Cook in Buffalo, I'm going to find a lot of ways to try to stack those guys up, get creative there. Didn't touch enough on Chicago and Vegas, but that's another game I'll try to attack a lot. Odunze to me is now the clear wide receiver one there. For the Raiders, it's Myers and Tucker running a lot of snaps. A little bit tough for me to pay for Bowers at this point, but I do think he's another guy that you'll get some exposure to naturally with how much Jacoby Myers is going to be owned. What else besides that? I would still play Scadaboo no matter what the ownership is. Just think the workload's really good for him, and I think he's a guy that, kind of like a Christian McCaffrey, people are calling him thick CMC or thick MC, whatever. He's basically Christian McCaffrey. Like, his usage right now is a lot of targets, good red zone work. The team's not going to be as good. The team's not going to be as well run. But Scadaboo is like a revelation at running back. And I know people are biased to their own rookie RBs. You hear people going, well, Bashal Tootin on his 5 carries, he got a touchdown, he got a goal. Like, great. Happy for Bashal Tootin. To me, Scadaboo looks like an every down back is what we're trying to hit on. And I think he's a guy that I'll trust more than the field will. I guess the field's going to play him a lot, so I'll trust him at least as much as the field does. That's it for now. I'll have more nuance to my takes come Sunday morning, so please tune in then at 9 a.m. Of course, going to be heading to the premium stream now. Also be on Stochastics live before lock on Sunday, and maybe some stuff coming up for NBA too that I'll be discussing on stream in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that too. But gamble responsibly, guys, even though it is always money time on this channel. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at SplashPlayPod on YouTube and on Twitter. Hit that like button. Make sure we stay above the 100 likes goal, because eventually YouTube will go respect me, even though I don't respect myself. Maybe YouTube will. But I'll see you guys in the premium video in a moment. Enjoy your days. Enjoy your weekends. And good luck. Bye, guys.